sure that she has an opportunity to observe. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I have attention, please? All quiet, please. Thank you. Have out in front of you the handout that I'm going to be collecting here in a moment relative to your member in the Second Continental Congress, the one which has the responsibility ultimately of voting on the Declaration of Independence and the resolution for independence, kind of a combined thing. And most all of you, actually it was nice, you took the time to actually go through, because I made it worth points, to see what the signature looked like. Okay? Where did you find yours?
Oh, I just looked it up.
And you were able to find it?
Yeah.
Good. Good. I mean, he signed something, even if it wasn't Declaration of Independence and so forth. So, have your notes out, have that out, so you're going to be ready to transition and so forth. One of the things we're going to be doing in here is a mock Second Continental Congress. And I have no idea exactly how that is going to play out, or even how long. I give some latitude to the length of it. Basically, on this particular one, there's only one question. There's only one vote that's going to be taken, as opposed to when we do like in the next unit, if we have time, a mock constitutional convention, in which case there's actually several different kinds of things that are debated and then voted on. But this is going to boil down to a very simple question. Are you, as the delegates from your particular state, colony, whatever way you want to call yourself, are you in favor or opposed or no opinion, as in, like, you abstain, or frankly, if there's a tie vote, like there's two of you and one goes this way and one goes that way, and so you can't really cast a vote, are you in favor or not of independence for the United States of America? And what is required? What is required, Abby? Yeah, or at least no nays. Yeah, so in the actual vote, raise your hand if you're from a state that actually abstained. Yeah, it was New York. And you guys ultimately decided to sign it, and I think they made that into a nice little piece as far as the film was concerned on that. So I'm going to be asking some questions generally. First, I want to take you through some things relative to the signatures, what they look like. I want you to write down some things relative to the Declaration of Independence, what was in there. I'm going to ask you some questions, so you should be able to refer to, in fact, let's just do that right now. You got the thing in front of you. Let's just get a sense of who the heck you are. Okay? Some of you guys may recall this. Maybe you know this. I did actually mention this. Raise your hand if you think you are among the oldest members of the Second Continental Congress. Okay, we got a hand here, a hand here. Hold on, we got one here, we got one there, one there. Okay, we'll find out. Shh. Okay, hold on. All right, shh. Let's have it quiet here. And I can refer to my sheet here. Let's see, Maddie, you are Rhode Island's Representative Stephen Hopkins. Okay, how old are you in 1776? You had your hand up? Who had their hand up back here? How old are you? It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. It's pretty old. You call that old? Okay, all right. Fair enough. Did you have your hand up? Wilson? How old are you? 34. That's not old compared to these guys. Okay, that is not old. That's okay. It's all right. All right, anybody else over here in the 60s? Anybody over here in the 60s? Hold on there, Ben. Anybody else in the 60s? This is interesting because I'm talking. If you go to the United States Congress today, the leadership and so forth, bless you. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. I want to say she is in her 70s, and a lot of the other leaders in the Senate and the House and so forth, they're pretty far along there. Our last two presidents are among the oldest presidents in our country's history. So we've actually been kind of creeping up into older. Of course, you can be like, oh, well, back then people didn't live as long. It's true. Okay? But you were 66. Stephen Hopkins, 66. Did you say 69 years old? Okay. Shh. This is fascinating. Stephen Hopkins is the second oldest member of the Second Continental Congress. And I know that because they kept bringing that up in the film, which you only got to see parts of, 1776. How old are you, Ben? 70. Did you say 70 or 70s?
70.
Thank you. I thought you were like giving me a whole decade, and I'm like, you know, tell me exactly how many candles you want in your thing. 70, okay? So that is very old. Stephen Hopkins and so forth. Caesar Rodney. Where's Caesar Rodney? Caesar Rodney. Thank you very much. How old are you? 48. And in the film they portray him, I don't know if you saw that, as being kind of like really ill of health, and they had to actually go and bring him back to vote. Was that an accurate depiction?
For sure, no. Even though, I mean, yeah, he looks like he's little, about 90 to 100 years old.
Yeah. But 48 at the time. He did have some health issues. Okay? Yeah. Let's just do a quick check on some of these ones, because some of the... raise your hand if you're a person. We're looking at number 3, okay, to help you kind of guide your thing in case you're like, I don't remember. Well, look at your paper. That was what you're supposed to find out. Raise your hand if you were married, if you were never married. Never married. Okay, so marriage was a pretty common thing among the representatives to the Second Continental Congress. Okay, raise your hand if you were married at least once. At least twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. Let's check this out before we get some details. At least 3 times. I don't think I remember anybody being married at least 3 times, okay? So raise your hand if you had children. Raise your hand if you had no children. Okay, we think, okay. I don't know. Raise your hand if you had only one child that you're aware of. 1. According to your research. Oh my gosh. I don't want to get into the whole scandalous thing. It's like Thomas Jefferson. How many children? Just kidding. Yeah. I mean, how many children did Thomas Jefferson have with... How many Thomas Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson. How many wives did you have? How many children did you have with that wife? With that one wife? You have your facts wrong there, sir. Because with that one wife, you had, I'm going to say like 1 or 2, no more than that. But if you looked and you started adding up the other ones that... Oh, yeah, Martha was the wife. No mention of Sally Hemmins? I already spilled the beans on that one, but so forth. Sally Hemmins was the mother of many of your children, according to DNA and according to history, and it's probably pretty solid and so forth. I mean, how did Sally Hemmins ever come into a particular relationship in the Jefferson household? Yeah, she was a gift to the Jefferson marriage from the father-in-law. Okay? And she had children with Thomas Jefferson and so forth. How many of you guys had at least 2? Let's go ahead and check at the hands here. Okay, at least 3. Keep the hands up with at least 3. So this is already above the American average right now. At least 4 children. Okay, at least 5. Oh my gosh, this is a big family. At least 6. At least 7. Look at around. At least 7 children that you're aware of, according to your research. Okay. At least 8. 7's a lot. I was one of 7 kids, and that was a big family, you know. Yeah. At least 9. Oh my gosh, look at this. We got here. You got 4, 5, 6, 7 contenders for the biggest family. What were we at? 8? 9. At least 9. We still got all these hands up. At least 10. Oh, thank you, Vinny. You had 9? All right. Well, fair enough. Not you, but your character, who was Roger Sherman. A simple cobbler from Connecticut. At least 11. Oh, we got a couple more hands down. Oh, we got some contenders. So who we got? Richard Henry Lee over here, and who's this? Okay, William Mallory. So what are we at, 11? 12. I feel like an auction. Here, we got 12, we got 12, we got 12. We got 13, at least 13, at least 13. Oh, at least 13, at least 13. At least 14. Where do you want 14? Oh, we got a winner! How many did you have? How many spouses did you have? Those women were saints, yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. This is not unheard of. Okay, now just as far, let's wrap up with a couple of things more on the kids. Shh. Raise your hands if you're aware from your research, and you may have run into this, maybe you didn't. Raise your hands if you had children who died in childhood. Okay, if you that you're aware of. Okay, and this is sad. I want to go into all the details of that. That was not uncommon. That was not uncommon. Reaching the adulthood was like considered a real big thing because there was all kinds of dangerous childhood illnesses and so forth. You guys now have to get your shots against all kinds of what are now avoidable childhood diseases. Health was an issue and so forth. So that was not entirely uncommon. And in fact, for the women, a lot of you men that had second wives and so forth, raise your hand if you're aware if your first wife died as a result of child complications in delivering. Okay? Yeah. Maybe maybe you should have anyway. I'm not gonna get into it's like leave that woman alone. She's gonna die one of those days, and then you're like, I got another one. All right. Yes. There we go. Yeah, 2 survived into adulthood. Yeah, which is very, very sad. It's yeah. All right. Yeah, and that's yeah. Education details. How many of you are aware? This is interesting because now when you go to Washington, D.C. and you go to Congress and so forth, almost everyone has not only finished high school, but they've probably gone to or even finished college and gotten graduate degrees in law or other kinds of fields in that and so forth. It's more common now. Raise your hand if you're aware of that your person never attended college. Not as many, actually. There's some of you guys, self-made men, self-educated. What was your profession? A lawyer, self-taught lawyer. This is possible. Usually today, if you're going to be a lawyer, you need to go to school. But you could be a self-taught lawyer. Abraham Lincoln, a lot of it was self-taught. What was your profession? You're Benjamin Franklin. You're a genius. I mean, you open up a book and you're like, you just suck it right in, You didn't. Yeah. He learned through life, Benjamin Franklin did. And then who else had their hand up over here? Yes. He was a doctor, but he never went to college and so forth. Yeah, he's going to need to pick up a few things along the way, as far as practical things. Check this one. Raise your hand if you got part of your education, whether it was college or before college, if you went overseas. Raise your hand if you went overseas. That was not uncommon. Okay? So, where did you go? London, where did you go? Yep. London. Living in England. Okay. All right, so some of you did receive your education overseas. How many of you guys went to Harvard, which is a college in the Northeast, Cambridge, and Massachusetts? All right. How many of you guys went to either Columbia? He was in New York. Sometimes when the university changes and so forth, what is now Princeton, college and universities, something like that. How many of you guys went to America? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to stand up. You can raise your hand. I know you went to William & Mary because that was Harvard came first. William & Mary was the second college founded. Yale. How many of you guys went to Yale? Okay, so we got some Southerners going to Yale as well, and that's in Connecticut. Okay, so that's very well known. All right, military experience. Military experience. How many of you guys served some time in the military at some point in time or another? Okay, so there's quite a bit of a sprinkling. How many of you guys are aware that you served during the American Revolution? I don't think so, Ben. Sorry, you're a little bit old for that. Okay? But during the American Revolution. So you signed the document, and then you were also fighting for your country in the same thing, which is actually, might be considered somewhat unusual. Okay? And then we got the signature on the Declaration of Independence. How many of you guys signed the Articles of Confederation, if you were able to sign that, which is adopted shortly thereafter? It wouldn't be a surprise. You would still be a representative of your state. How many of you guys were also a signatory to the U.S. Constitution, which is going to come another 10 years later? Okay? How many of you guys signed all three? All right, there you go. Okay, so well done on that one. Let me take a look. Let me show you guys the signatures here. I've got that. There we go. Let's see. And some of you guys are like, I know what it looks like because I had to copy it. There's the big one, John Hancock. Okay. Raise your hand when you see your name. You see Button? And who else do you see there? Lyman Hall. Very good. From what state? Georgia. All right, very good. All right, let's move it over a little bit. There's another column. Still in the South. You guys see your names there, Southerners? Now notice this. For some of these, there's going to be quite a few more names. Do we see Edward Rutledge there? Okay, and who was the other South Carolina delegate? Thomas Lynch. Oh, Nathaniel's not here. Okay. Moving up. There you are. Who do we got? John Penn and Joseph Hughes. Hannah's not here. That was hers. Okay, sliding it on over. Okay, raise your hand if you see your name. Yep, who are you? Yeah, who's that? Samuel Chase. Look at that fancy signature. Woo! Simone, how about that one? Charles Carroll of Carrollton. They named the whole town after you? Actually, they did. The Carroll family was a big, big deal in your area. Okay? We got a lot of them from Virginia. Do you see it there? Your name is Richard Henry Lee. Virginia is your home. And there's Jefferson. Okay? There's a lot of abbreviations sometimes you have for like first names and so forth. TH presumably was an abbreviation for Jefferson. Although here we got Nelson, so we got quite a big Virginia delegation. Okay, let's scoot it along over here. All right, you see some names here? Benjamin Franklin. I like the loop-de-loops. How many guys raise your hand if you have a loop-de-loop under your name? All right, let's hear for the loop-de-loops. Okay, I don't know. There's probably an official name there. Who else? Notice this one, and this is where the film and the play 1776 is not accurate because it made it look like there were a three-person delegation and Judge Wilson was like the tiebreaker. I don't know if you were that much of a tiebreaker, but yours was like, I think, the biggest delegation there. So all of those people, right? Morris, Rush, Franklin, Morton, Clymer, Smith, Taylor, Wilson, Ross, Rooney. Oh, no, not. I think. Anyway, those are from Pennsylvania. Okay? Here we go. Do you see your names there? Delaware? Who are you? George Reed, G.O. Reed. And there, do you see McKeon? Tho McKeon, Thomas McKeon. And there you are, Mr. Caesar Rodney. Okay, continuing on. We're heading, I think, to the north now. There we go. You guys up in the north? You see your names yet? Doesn't that look just like the way you did it? Nope. It's interesting because when you look at these, what kind of instrument were they using to write their names? A quill pen, which you dipped in the ink, and then it kind of created like these two little things, and then if you're really adept at it, if you're not that adept at it, you could get some kind of these blotchy things, and, you know, there's only one document that you're signing. Can you go, I screwed up, you know, can we get another one? So, you know, sorry, Livingston, you got a little bit of a splotch there. Lewis Morris, it's okay, Lewis Morris. The real Lewis Morris looks like it's not too bad. That's not too bad. All right? So we got you guys, New Jersey. Do you guys see your names there? Who are you? And? Frask Hopkinson. There we go. All right. Very nice. And there were quite a few from New Jersey because that wasn't too far away either, just across the river. All right. Let's take a look here. Let's go up to the top. All right. Do we see any names of you guys? All right. Who we got in from New Hampshire? Josiah Bartlett and? William Whipple. Very good. And now we got from Massachusetts, Sam Adams and John Adams, the cousins. Okay, we got quite a few other ones from there. I've got a story here. Okay? All right, now, okay, we got Sherman, right, from Connecticut, and then who was the other one from Connecticut? Walcott, so we've got everybody. All right, now take a look at this one, Stephen Hopkins. Don't you take your job seriously? Look at that. That's just like all over the place. Do you know why? He was so excited, he was shaking and so forth, he was writing his signature on there? Not quite, but close. Okay? He had a palsy. He had a condition that caused his hand to shake. So, for those of you wretched children who were laughing when you looked at Stephen Hopkins' signature because you're basing that on an initial sort of like mocking thing. And actually, did you discover that when you were researching? Did you? No, but I mean, did you know that he had palsy? This is something I do when we have more time. We're able to watch the movie and so forth. One of the things I ask students to do is, to the extent that your character is portrayed, and some characters are obviously portrayed more than others, Hopkins was actually portrayed quite a bit in the film. I ask students to, in your research, see if that portrayal is accurate. As in, like, when you were doing research of Richard Henry Lee, I mean, did you find out that he was such a big goober, like he appeared in that one scene? My name is Richard Henry. You know? No? I didn't think so. I mean, he actually is portrayed kind of goofily. John Adams, what, in your research, did you discover that he was a little bit of an irritant to other people? And does he have a problem with that? You got a problem, rest of the country, with like going along with independence, or do you want to be a mama's boy for the rest of your existence? You know, like Canada or something like that, you know. I mean, oh! Actually, no, Canada was smart because Canada looked at what was going on and they're like, we're not going to have a big, huge blowout fight with mom and pa. We're actually going to reach an accommodation. So did Canada ultimately get their independence, Reese? Yes, they did. Was there a big, huge, mass, bloody revolution between Canada and Britain? No. It's like, how are you going to transition from living at your parents' house to living independently on your own? Are you going to have a big fight and you're going to get thrown out of the house, or are you going to slam the door and leave? I hope not. Or are you going to be like Canada and Britain that have an amicable, transition? So here's the deal. Shh, listen up. In the movie, Stephen Hopkins is played, and this is like, I make you guys feel bad that you're like, oh, he's got a shaky signature. I got some problems with the people that did the play, particularly in the movie, because in the movie they portray him as always wanting to drink rum, like at all times of the day. As in, like, he's got like an alcohol problem and so forth. I'm like, where the heck did they get the idea to have this guy be portrayed, one of the fathers of the country, be portrayed as somebody who has an alcohol issue? And I'm like, was that his signature that gave them kind of like, And of course, here's it's really bad. Because Jordan, the Stephen Hopkins, have a shaky signature because he's having difficulties with alcohol. No, it's because he's got a medical condition called palsy. So there you go. Yeah. Shame on people who make Stephen Hopkins look like he's... Yeah. I know, you were the one that was asking it too. All right, now, before we get to our Constitution... Oh, actually, let me go ahead and collect those now from you, because this is a good time. Yeah. Just go. Yep. Just go. You're fine. Yep. Okay, get that to me. Probably this Constitution should be, look up like the names of the people that signed the Constitution. You can look that up separately, and if you don't see his name, then he didn't. Because it's a very definitive list. He's either on it or not. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. 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 Oh, you dropped it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you give it another try? That's okay. All right. and Hughes. There we go. Okay, now, what I want you to write down, let's have it quiet, please. Awfully chatty, my ninth graders. What I want you to write down is, in your notes, before we get to the actual mock Second Continental Congress and whether or not vote for independence, I want you guys to know some of the basics of what is in the Declaration of Independence. Because, in fact, when this was going on, Virginia made its resolution. We resolve that these 13 states should and ought to be independent. Okay, that's a nice resolution. Hi. Yes, when she comes back. She went to the bathroom. Sorry. Anyway, so just remind her when she comes back. Okay? So here's the deal. Write this down. In the movie, they portrayed it as though, they made the resolution and then they had this agreement. Make sure you have it in your notes because I mentioned this before. They agreed. They voted on it by majority vote that when they voted on independence, it had to be unanimous, or at least in the sense that no one of the 13 voted against it. Now we know, raise your hands, New York, did you vote for it or against it? They didn't either way. Yeah, you abstained because the New York legislature was like, I don't know, what should we do? There was a lot of difference of opinion in many of the different places. If they had voted on it too early, it would have failed. So what happened was a committee of 5, and you've got the names of the people in the committee of 5. Raise your hand if you were on the committee of 5 that drafted a declaration stating the reasons why there should be an independence. 1, Roger that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So there was a 5-person committee on that. And what they came up with is the Declaration of Independence. Who did most of the hard lifting and the actual writing of it? Yeah. Okay? So let me take you through that. And actually, the part that I'm really going to be focusing on is actually really not altered at all. It's the Thomas Jefferson part. Other parts are going to be quite adjusted. Here we go. You ready? I want you to write down certain things. This is from the Wiki article on the Declaration. It's got why it's there, and then we got the actual words. Okay? So, for example, when we say, if you were to recite, I don't know, I'm not going to necessarily have you. If you wanted to do some extra credit, we could have you recite the opening words to the Constitution. What are the opening words to the Constitution? Raise your hand if you know the first 3 words to the United States Constitution. What? Keep going. Of the United of yeah, okay, that's good enough. So, yeah. So you could get 5 extra credit points if you were able to recite the Preamble of the United States Constitution. So we'll give you till the end of the semester to do that. Yeah. So this is different. Here are the original words. Here's the original introduction to the Declaration of Independence. You ready? And you don't have to write everything down, but you can write down sort of the gist of it. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled to them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. My goodness, Thomas Jefferson, that is quite a sentence. That is one sentence. It's a powerful sentence with lots of component parts. Here's what you need to write down. You ready? Mr. Hansen's unpacking of that very first sentence. When you're going to leave a country, you need to tell the country why you're leaving. If you use the boyfriend-girlfriend analogy, when you're breaking up, you should tell them why you're breaking up. Or maybe not, I don't know. I mean, in America, they could have just gone totes, we're out of here, bye, see ya. Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. But here's the deal. Make sure you have this, okay? They want you in the office. Yes, okay. What they're trying to do here, and this came out, I think, very well in the film, they wanted to help advance the argument. So they're relying on Thomas Jefferson, primarily, and the other members of the committee, to bring in more people in favor of independence because, wow, look at this document. This is really good. I mean, oh my gosh, this is so cool the way this is written. We got to vote yes. We'll see if that works with you guys. So, the very first sentence, when you're going to leave, you got to give reasons to leave. All right, now, let's get to the best part of the Declaration of Independence. It's called the Preamble. Write this down, the Preamble. In fact, some of these words I want you to write down. You'll be able to figure them out because it's like, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. This is so significant. Make note of this. The fact that we did this, and we got away with it, is going to have a big impact on history. You're like, oh, well, obviously it's history of like North America. No, it actually had a big impact on the history of the world. And you're going to see other documents in other countries include similar words. Are you ready? These are the reasons why we think we can do what we're doing, as in leave Britain and set up our own country. Are you ready? Here's the thing. First, we hold these truths to be self-evident. I'm going to pause at each different component part. If somebody says to you, I'm going to say something and you can't argue with me because it's self-evident and you must be a fool if you don't see it the same way I do. You understand that? It's self-evident. I can see this. This is just the way things are. Got that? So we say that there are certain truths that everyone has to agree with. Well, guess what? There's going to be some people that don't agree with it. But whatever. You want to stake out a position, everyone should agree with it. All right, here we go. Here is the first truth that Jefferson and all the people that sign on to it say is self-evident. Nobody can argue with this. First, all men are created equal. Hold on. Obviously, we'll come back to it. All men are created equal. Now, by men, does that include all of humanity? Many people would say that should be interpreted to include all humanity. And if you look at the laws of the country today and say, our rights, our equality, is that something that all humans should have? They would come back with the answer, yes. In fact, you can make a little note of this, and some of you guys know this already. None of you are women. Women were not allowed to vote for members of the Second Continental Congress. Women were not allowed to serve on the Second Continental Congress. Were there women who had strong opinions and were fully capable of sharing those opinions with men? Yeah, I mean, Abigail Adams is a clear example of one, and she didn't shy away from that with respect to her husband. Okay? But it's fair to say, at that time, women didn't have very many rights. Okay? When are women in this country going to have the same rights as far as like voting as men? Yeah, it's going to be like 100 years ago. Yeah, at the end of by 1920, you're going to have that. Okay, with the 19th Amendment. Okay, you got that? Also, of course, obviously, you've got slavery, which is existent at that time. So if a human, a man or a woman, for that matter, is a slave, they don't have the same equality as other people. Okay? Native Americans don't necessarily in this country have the same equality as others. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things that people look back on and go, nice document, but if you want this to be real, you need to be real and actually expand it so we're talking about all humans. Okay? Next, here we go. That they are endowed by their Creator. Let's stop it right there, because this is an interesting thing. Creator. Does that sound like a religious context or a non-religious context? It sounds very religious. Creator is something that religions, particularly Christianity, which was the most widely held religious belief in the colonies, that sounds like that's a religious thing. Although it's curious, there's other component parts in there that talk about nature. Okay? That this is a natural thing in science and just the way things are. So you've got kind of, it's like take your pick, because both of them are in the Declaration of Independence. Is there religious references? Yeah, you've got the Creator part. Are there references to sort of like science and nature? Mm-hmm, those are in there too. Thomas Jefferson, what were you more of? A science, nature kind of guy or a traditional religious kind of guy? Yeah, Thomas Jefferson personally was more of a science, nature kind of guy, but he's writing a document seeking the votes of all of y'all. Raise your hand if you got a sense from your reading that your particular person, and it doesn't always come up, was very much a religious kind of guy. It's okay if it didn't come out. Maybe that's just hardly more of a sciencey kind of guy. Okay, maybe for a couple of you guys in there and so forth. Probably most of you, from what I understand, most of you were fairly religious. I mean, hello, Reverend. Excuse me. At least some of you should have put your hand up. Reverend John Witherspoon. Are you like a religious-y kind of person? Yeah, go tell that to all the people in your congregation. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, just saying. Yeah, you are, okay? And there were others of you that were. Okay, so here we go. So endowed by the Creator with, here we go, certain unalienable rights, all right? So all people are equal, and their Creator has given them unalienable rights. Raise your hand if you've ever used the word unalienable in a sentence that you wrote in any paper. Was it about the Declaration of Independence? Oh, really? What context? Can you give me a definition of unalienable? What would be a synonym for unalienable? Because it is a very uncommon word. And they couldn't even agree to it. Adams and Jefferson couldn't even agree as to how to spell the word. Yeah, undeniable, unbreakable. Write that down. Undeniable, unbreakable. It's unalienable. Can't take it away. Can't break it. It's Teflon. It's good. Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, you know, there's other stuff. All right, so they're unbreakable rights. And here we go. You ready? That among these are three things: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, those of you guys who were paying close attention to when I was doing instruction last semester, what British writer put that into words before Jefferson and talked about how in Britain there's a social contract that the government needs to give protection to people and make sure that they have the right to life, liberty, and property, was his words. Nope, close. He was about the same area in the notes. He was Mr. Economist. Some of you guys are trying to open up or take a key to open up. It's John Locke, yeah. It's John Locke. Yeah, there we go. So that was John Locke was the first one to come up with it. Thomas Jefferson plagiarized. Thomas Jefferson followed his ideas. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You like that? Do you like those? Anybody have any problem with those? All right, now, here's the next part, because this is critical. This part gets a little bit more radical, folks. Gets a little bit more radical. Because we're basically saying at this point, God has given us the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And I mean, no one can argue with it. It's undeniable. And to secure these rights, okay, here we go. Secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Here we go. What's the job of the government? To protect these rights. Write that down. The job of the government is to protect human rights. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't had any wonderings, look at the next words there. The governments, as in instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. Excuse me, the consent of the governed. In other words, if the government wants to be like, we're the government, where do they have to get consent from? Exactly, the people. That's very much like the base of democracy. Does that make sense? So, woohoo, democracy. What's the job of the government? To protect us. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, here's the real radical part. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, as in protecting life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and the government's messing up with that and destroying our rights, we got another right, and it's got a capital R. The right of the people to alter or abolish it. That's revolution. That's rebellion. Now, if you use those words around this country today, somebody might go, good for you. Get ready, get involved in the next election. That's how most people kind of see that. Although if people are like, oh my gosh, elections, I don't know if we can really count on them and so forth, does that mean that they might feel obliged to take up guns? I mean, when have people in this country taken up guns against a government? American Revolution, and then when you get to this Civil War, you would have the Southerners basically saying, we don't want the Union telling us what to do, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. Who? Oh, yeah, well, that's the United States versus other countries. Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, well, and we fought wars and so forth, for sure. Okay? That's the big part there, instituting a new government, yada, yada, yada. And so there's all kinds of additional language there, but I think you've gotten about not even quite halfway through that preamble, and you've gotten the main guts of it. You got that? I'm not going to go on and on and on and on with the additional words. Once you get to that point, we have these rights. The British government has a responsibility to protect those rights, and they're not, so we have the right to rebel. Fair enough? Now, the next part, you just write this down. I'm not going to go through all the different parts in here. They call it the indictment. In other words, it's all the complaints. Now, here's one point that I want to make to you. The way we write, we complain about the king, and it's really not fair. Why is it not fair to say all these problems with Britain are the king? Yeah? He didn't have as much power at that time in history. Who had more power? The Parliament, yeah. And so it was a tactical choice not to say, you know, we got a complaint with the Parliament, we got a complaint with the Parliament. Ultimately, who won the war? We did. Who quit the war? They did. Who in Britain quit the war? Was it the king, the Parliament, or both? It was the Parliament. You know, the king wanted to keep fighting. And the king got overruled. Sorry, king. And he lost his grasp of reality for a while. All of these things are like complaints. He's refuses his assent to the law. Here's one. He's dissolved representative houses. He's endeavored to prevent the population of these states anyway. He has kept standing armies in our country, and he's quartered large bodies of armored troops. Oh, here we go. Imposing taxes on us without our consent, right? Taxation without representation. That's just one of the many complaints. Come on, Britain, we're tired of you. So says who? So says Thomas Jefferson, the committee that he served on, and all of you guys who ended up signing on to that. Questions? You got a pretty good grasp of what the Declaration of Independence is? Okay. Now let's see what you're going to do. Let's go to see what you're going to do. Here you are. There you all are. I'm going to play the role of John Hancock. Maybe. Actually, since you guys have got some practice, some of you guys might need a little bit more practice, New York, if you wanted to. We've done that in the past. Sometimes the students get really excited about it and everything and so forth. So if here we go. Here is potentially what could happen. You guys could vote unanimously, or at least without objection, to adopt the resolution that Virginia made. Virginia, just first of all, are you okay with independence? Are you going to, do you feel like you're, I'm just putting you on the spot because your character in history was in favor of it. And the only reason I'm asking you is, do you favor independence, personally, as you're going to play that character? You want to? Okay, so I'll let you start the debate. Okay, so when we get into the debate, we will have, this is what you're going to do. You will seek the recognition of the chair. That's me. And when I call on you, then you will have the recognition of the chair, and you will have an opportunity to participate in the debate. Basically, my goal as an educator is to bring out all the kind of arguments for, against, and so forth, and so on, and so on. And so what happens is, historically, these things develop into some really interesting things. And so sometimes students will actually produce a piece of paper afterwards, and they'll get all the signatures and so forth on that. It's pretty cool. It's actually kind of fun. But sometimes actually, if one or two states are like, no, they do it anyway. And they're like, we, the United States of America, except for those traitorous, villainous, neglectful, stupid people that live in the territories of, I can't even bear to say their names, sign this Declaration of Independence. So they do it anyway. So, cool down. Okay? And then if somebody has postage, we'll mail it to the Queen. I'm sure she'll be thrilled. Okay? All right? Okay, so do you understand kind of how this is going to go? And ultimately after, and I may actually ask as chair, because if somebody is like, we'll see how it works out. I may ask, how are you going to vote? Just be prepared to do a yay or nay and then give some reason. And it can be some reasons that other people have stated already. So we'll see how this goes. Okay? Could be fun. Could be a huge headache. It may not end very well. I mean, you're looking around, you're like, you guys know more about each other than maybe I do. I mean, you've known each other from... But we will start off with Virginia, okay? So are you ready to go into the mock thing? The fact that I'm the instructor and you're used to giving me deference works out really well, because now I will be John Hancock, chosen by you to be the president of the Second Continental Congress, and so I will be presiding, and the issue is going to be the debate, or the resolution from Virginia. Are you ready? Okay. The Second Continental Congress is again here in session. The Honorable John Hancock presiding. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome delegates to the Second Continental Congress. The issue before us is the resolution from Virginia for independence of these 13 colonies, states, and the debate will begin. Okay? We will start off, first of all, with Richard Henry Lee from Virginia. If you would like to start, and you don't have to stand or anything like that. If you feel so inclined, you have the opportunity of doing so, but don't feel obliged. Richard Henry Lee, could you please state, at least to start us off here, what are reasons for independence, please? Why is it a good idea? Good start. Actually, that summarizes it very nicely. All right. Any further debate and argument? Richard Henry Lee, we can come back to you on further debate, or we can open it up to the floor to see how the debate goes, for or against. All right, fair enough. All right, the chair opens up the issue to debate. Is there somebody, one of the delegates, that seeks to be recognized? Don't say anything. Put your hand up. Oh, sorry. And you are, actually, and you're kind of misplaced. We've got you kind of all over the place, because ultimately we're going to have you over here, because when Nathan comes back and he is, I don't know, we'll give you an opportunity. Are you going to, who are he? You're George Reed, right? And you're sort of separated from the normal group that you would normally be in. Do you want to be a replacement delegate from Georgia and vote in the Georgia delegation today, or whatever? Okay, so you're going to be... excuse me, not Georgia. I meant South Carolina. Yeah, Georgia's right here. South Carolina. So you're subbing in as Lynch. So the delegate from South Carolina, please speak. Okay. Argument in favor or against?
I'm in favor of separating, because, there's a thing called British imperialism, and it tends to be bad for everyone who isn't British, especially if they just lost the war and they have no money. Because that's one of our main functions, is to be a pigment that regenerates resources. And there aren't many benefits for us left of staying under as a colony of Britain. And I think we have a moral obligation to separate from Britain, so that instead of hurting our people, they can sell opioids to China.
That's the 19th century. Just be patient, okay? Does the delegate from South Carolina have any additional remarks to make at this time? No, thank you. So the delegate from South Carolina, just to correct you on history, which I'm sure you are thrilled to, indeed you are correct, sir, that the British have taxed and so forth for a war that Britain found great expense. Raise your hand, delegates, if you are aware of the outcome of the French and Indian War. Did Britain, raise your hand, lose? Raise your hand, win. And they're wanting to share the cost and so forth. So a minor point, but nevertheless, the taxes and so forth are there. Okay? The next delegate to be called on. The chair recognizes delegate from Connecticut.
I'm going to say let's not be independent.
with their head.
I'm not following your butcher analogy. Hold on. Order, order. Okay, thank you. Is there any other debate that you wish to make at this time, delegate from Connecticut?
We don't like what they're doing to us, so why don't we just retaliate?
Okay. Anything further? Okay. I'm curious at this point. I call upon, because I'm just curious. You don't have to answer right now, but folks perhaps in the room are wondering what the other half of the Connecticut delegation is thinking to said opinion. Do you wish to share your opinion at this point? Do you wish to hear further debate before? Okay, that's a safe position. All right, the chair calls again on Virginia. We'll see how he responds to your thing. Go ahead, Richard Henry Lee. Okay, the chair calls on the delegate from Georgia.
So, I don't know the delegate from over there's name, but
That would be Oliver Wolcott.
Mr. Oliver Walcott. So you're saying like if we stay oil and Britain and we keep just paying taxes to them, it's gonna be bad for them?
No, I'm saying that we stop paying taxes.
Yeah, but we still
And we
need more.
fight. And we don't become independent. Why? No, listen. I know. I just
Order, order.
Okay. So if we don't become independent, we can like still technically steal from them. And like we just refuse to not pay taxes.
Refuse to pay taxes or refuse not to pay taxes? Okay, she's opposed at this point. Okay. All right. The chair recognizes the delegate from New Jersey.
So, Oliver, I think your idea is really stupid.
The chair will admonish the delegates to abide by respectful decorum. Whilst you may disagree with the opinions expressed by your fellow delegates, it is not okay to be disagreeable about the nature of their personalities. That's for like when you leave the room and you talk about them behind their backs, right? Okay. Okay. Anything further from the delegate from New Jersey?
That if we like do what you said, then they'll just keep sending soldiers to Boston and eventually everywhere else, and then we'll just be looking at
Okay. Thank you very much. The delegate from Georgia.
So, Oliver, you're saying that we should not pay taxes when we already tried to do that and it didn't work. And we should just not go independent when we tried everything else and it's still not working. But we should just still keep like I did. Exactly.
Okay. I'm much more in the clear.
Resources and then just cut, like just be independent. So eventually become independent, but not right now.
Okay.
The money we spent on the war already.
It's not our money, basically. It's like theirs.
Okay.
Everything comes from them.
The chair will admonish the delegates, please, to address their questions to the chair. That is a typical decorum that is used, and so that actually gives the chair, the president, the ability to control the debate a little bit more further, okay, rather than the back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. The chair now recognizes South Carolina again.
Yes, okay.
It's okay,
So,
George.
If I could represent Oliver in her argument, from my perspective, what I'm seeing, she is, however it be a bad argument, is arguing for revenge on Britain, when that is not the concern that we are facing. We are facing a concern to our rights as men, not women, but men, for our basic rights. And the only way we're going to accomplish that is by declaring independence.
Okay.
Not by doing like some petty passive aggressive squabble.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Georgia.
Although a pretty passive-aggressive squabble would be quite fun. There are things called, they just send more soldiers and stuff, and that wouldn't be very fun. Now would it? So, I have something smart sounding to say.
Okay. We're waiting. We'll wait further. You can call for the attention of the chair. We're going to, yes, we'll give you an opportunity to respond. Connecticut.
What exactly are we going to get by becoming independent?
Order! 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 Shh. Was that a rhetorical question, or are you finished? Okay. Order. All right. The chair recognizes the other delegate from Connecticut to inquire as to the status of his growing opinion and which direction it is going. Okay, so Connecticut, you may be, in order to convince other people around you, and maybe perhaps you have, among the delegates and so forth who are here, I'm going to be checking. Some of you guys are quiet so far. We'll see how this plays out. But you've got a little bit more argument to make, perhaps. We'll see some other opinion jumping into here. I'm curious, Massachusetts. The reference has been made to Boston and the very important role in the initial stages. Massachusetts, either one of the Adams, you want to chime in as to whether you favor independence or oppose it and why? John Adams, you were on the committee. Speak. Okay, why? The question was raised, what do we gain from independence? Other relevant questions could be, are we even going to get it? Now, you can't look back at history and say, yeah, we got it, thank you, France. But at the time that you are considering this in 1776, is it risky? Is it worth going for that risk of independence? Why? Why is independence worth it? You can't target people forever. Thank you, Samuel. That was quite interesting on that. All right. New York. I'd like to hear a little bit from the New York delegation. You guys are an important trading area. Either one of you, how see you this issue of independence? Because. Okay. Delaware. Delaware. I saw your hand up. Delaware. The chair recognizes Delaware. Which one? I thought you had your hand up. Okay, Delaware. How do you see this?
I mean, to be fair, we do agree with the independence. We did ask for some help to help us with that independence.
Like who?
Well, the French could help us because they had a conflict with Britain. So,
Okay. All right.
and we're not really on we're not really on their more, that well. We're not really on the bad side as much as Britain is. So.
Okay. The chair recognizes South Carolina again.
So what we need to understand is why this is worth it. Any bloodshed that will happen in this war would be tripled by the ruthless destruction of our homes and people that the British have caused. Look no further than the Boston Massacre, and when they formed line and shot against their own citizens. Are we going to let this stand, or are we going to take action and stuff like that?
Okay. Thank you very much. Connecticut, you seem to be taking the lead here on the opposition. So continue.
I only did that because I wanted an argument.
Of course, and you've got one. Go.
Yeah, I know. No one else wants nothing.
No, I haven't heard from everyone. Some people are sitting quietly.
As much
Just
as
next.
I'd like to be like a petty little person and just say no for like the fun of it, I think I am gonna have to say yes because like my true opinion all along was yes, but I just wanted to throw a wrench in things.
Well, aren't you sneaky? All right, well, let's see who's going to pick up the mantle here. All right, the chair recognizes Maryland.
Okay, in my opinion, I think Massachusetts will kill it a little bit more because none of this would have happened if they did not start throwing tantrums against Britain.
So, therefore, let's see, it seems like the mantle might have been picked up, Ellie. So, therefore, do you favor or oppose independence?
I'm opposed
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Flip flop, flip flop. The chair recognized